everyone here.
Good for me.
Yeah, exactly. And hello everyone on the stream. We have a camera here, so yeah, we can wave. Sorry for the delay. Physical meetings have their own challenges, unfortunately, so yeah. As you can imagine, but we are super happy to be all here today. And I would like to introduce to Kris, who is actually head of VRARA Association, managing the entire organization globally. So I believe that today Kris will give you quite interesting overview of what is happening on the market. We have a set of questions, of course, but let me start with a huge thanks to the VRARA space that is sponsoring this event, and of course, like VRARA Association is collaborating with many organizations, including VRARA. So we are super happy to be with them today. Unfortunately, they will not been able to be with us physically, but we have a message from Gabriela, and that is working at VRARA, and she would like to share with you some thoughts. So what we are actually doing today is we have a recording that we are going to play, and she will introduce you a bit into the VRARA and what this particular part of Deutsche Telekom is working on with the highlight of the 5G. So Przemek, if we can start video. And you also locally, we are having a combination of technology here, so there will be streamed video as well as displayed on the screen behind us.
Hello, I'm Gabriela from VRARA, and today I would like to tell you a bit more about our activities. So, let's start. VRARA is tech incubator of Deutsche Telekom, and our mission is to spark innovation transfer between startups and top European telco in order to create joint business opportunities. And how we do that? We have 3 main points in our offering: acceleration programs, incubation programs, and venturing. So, let's start with acceleration programs. Acceleration programs are typically focused on some specific topics, like XR technologies, 5G solutions, IoT solution, or computer vision. It takes from 3 to 6 months. And during this program, we provide to our startup mentoring, dev kits, telco tech, and any other support which is needed for speed up the growth of the product. We also have incubation programs. So where is the difference? In incubation programs, we also provide our startups the co-working space. So, if you would like to work closely with us, apply to our incubation program and work from one of our offices in Krakow or in Berlin. We also have our own VRARA fund, and we could invest in the most disruptive startups. We invest up to 300k euro in the first round, and we have possibility to invest up to 1 million in the follow-on round. We are doing it in the co-investment model. When startups become our portfolio company, we do our best to open as many doors as possible to the Deutsche Telekom to enable this joint collaboration. So, I hope that now you have more clarity what we are doing, and if you are interested in one of our offering, please contact us. You could also follow our social media because we have a bunch of other initiatives that you could be part of. So, follow us and join our VRARA ecosystem. Now I would like to wish you a wonderful event. Bye-bye.
VRARA is part of the Deutsche Telekom, and I think VRARA Association is also closely working with telecoms in general. So.
And the group from VRARA, from Deutsche Telekom, was in Madeira at the Emirates Global Summit. Terry and his team, they did some cool hologram presentation.
Yeah.
Are they using your technology too?
As well. You can see it everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, welcome again. I'm super happy to be with you on the stream as well. Guys, welcome again, Kris. And today, as we planned, we are going to discuss various subjects about the XR space. Yeah, but maybe let's start with you. And you've been actually involved in many different initiatives like over your career. Currently, like leading the VRARA association. So maybe as an introduction, maybe can you share with us, your profile and your experiences?
Yeah, this story is just making me feel older and older as I say it over the years. So I was born in Katowice.
Okay, not far from you.
Fast forward, I was working at Verizon actually.
Oh, really?
And I was managing the GPS navigation app called VZ Navigator, and people back then used to pay $10 a month for subscription.
Okay.
This was before Google Navigation, Google Maps, and the app was making $300 million a year. So we had a lot of research money to actually drive with the users in their car and observe and ask, what features do you want? And the users told us, you're a carrier, it's all about safe driving and no texting, but you want us to hold, put the phone and look at the map. How safe is that? So the users told us, why can't you just put the phone on the windshield, display the camera, and we look through the phone on the street, how it naturally looks, and just overlay the arrows which way to go. And that's augmented reality.
Yeah.
So the users were telling us, why can't you just enable this? So I'm like, wow. So then I did some research, on the internet, and I found Wikitude. They're an Austrian-based company.
When was that? What was
this was 2012.
Okay.
Wikitude, and now they're acquired by Qualcomm.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were the first ones to do the location-based augmented reality with this display in the navigation. So it wasn't really accurate because back then, yeah. But anyway, fast forward, then I worked at Toys R Us. So I hear it's still popular in Poland.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was actually at any point.
Okay.
In Poland, I don't remember personally. Yeah, but that was like a toys company. Right?
Yeah, it was a big toys company. I mean, they closed the stores in the U.S. Now they're basically online.
Okay.
I think they sell in Walmart and other stores.
Oh,
but
nice.
anyway, it was also fun working there because I also worked with customers that came to the store, and I was implementing like indoor mapping. You go to the store and you show a map. But
we know a bit about it.
that didn't really take off, right? The indoor maps didn't really take off for some reason.
Yeah, that's true.
But customers for Toys R Us wanted to, for example, buy a playground for their kids for the backyard, and they wanted to see how it looks, and they visualize that, and the product was in a box, right? So they couldn't really tell, how big is this, and with the technology from Matteo, we were doing a pilot. You could, use your phone and scan it, or the camera would then show you the product fully assembled.
Nice.
And that was a wow factor. Even for Lego, how does the Lego look when it's fully assembled? So, consumers were already liking this technology, 2012, 2013, 2014. So that was a long time ago.
So you actually moved from Katowice, right? Because you've been...
Oh, a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago. So I was 12 years old, if you want to go back. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's too far. Absolutely, yeah, but quite interesting. So it was like big corporations, startups as well?
Yeah, so big corporations, startups. I actually moved out to Silicon Valley, and I did a startup with GPS.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, technology was always my passion. Maps actually was my passion. And then somehow it's funny because now the augmented reality from Google, from the company with Pokemon Go, Niantic, they're developing the augmented reality world map.
Yeah.
So it's still based on a map. So it's amazing to see how my education's really
that's
paying
fascinating
off.
actually in terms of the future and the vision of like the technology that's going to be used in a few years. Yeah, that's true that we have like those two visions, like AR mixed reality version as well as VR videoca version. So yeah, it's quite interesting actually to see those projects competing at that stage, right?
Right, and that's where it's kind of like the AR vision is you live in a world and you enhance it with AR, and then you have people like Mark Zuckerberg, you know, they want us to just wear a headset and be inside another virtual world. So it's like competing philosophies. Yeah.
It's probably it's going to be a spectrum of like probably in the morning we'll use one and then in the afternoon another. Cool. So that's I think quite interesting mix. And then at the end, like VRARA Association happened, right? So you started to lead the organization.
So yes, we started 7 years ago, and we started based on the idea of I wanted to connect with someone. So, you know, I was at Verizon, I was at Toys R Us, and I was looking for solution providers, and it was so hard. I mean, you can do Google search and find, but it's different than coming to events like this and meeting people, and that's how we started the VRARA Association with Nathan Pettyjohn.
Because it was actually started in California, right? It was like the first project at the beginning.
Actually, the first chapter was like, California, New York. So it started with kind of like 2-3 chapters, and now we grew to 50 chapters around the world. So thank you for doing a great job with the Poland chapter.
Yeah, it's actually happening here. Like the community in Poland is very interesting. Like we are slowly getting back to the physical meetings, of course, and I hope to actually keep that format as well in here. That's the first physical meeting that we have right now, like as a chapter.
I can see that people miss the physical meetings.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. Of course, you know, there are spreads in Poland, so it's not that easy always to sync, especially with the short notice. But yeah, absolutely, virtual events they have their strengths, but physical events like with the networking afterwards, I think that's the very interesting thing. So absolutely, I think, you know, in terms of the Europe as well, Poland is quite interesting place to be in many interesting companies in here in the network. Yeah, but you mentioned at the beginning that there was an event at Madeira Island.
Yes, so we finally went to in-person events for our global summits. We tried to do the event 3 years ago in Portugal, but then COVID happened, so we had, it was actually, it was in Lisbon, but then we had to cancel everything because of COVID. But we made some good contacts, relationships, and then we moved the conference to this exotic island in Madeira, which is just beautiful. And actually, there was a direct flight from Madeira to Katowice, full of Polish people. So Madeira is famous for Polish people.
I think it's quite well connected. It's quite a long flight, but absolutely.
A direct flight to Katowice from Madeira. I mean, I didn't have to go to Warsaw and come down.
I think that's over the holidays, it's working well, and probably September. I think during the summer, like the winter time, it's going a bit harder. Yeah, but
so I probably took the last direct flight from Madeira.
Maybe I heard there were some challenges actually getting out of there, so as well. Some flights were cancelled or just
delayed.
So still COVID challenges happening in different occasions. But absolutely, I think, you know, the Madeira, because just maybe giving you also a bit better understanding, like VRARA Association, and actually right now there is a separate brand, Immerse Network. It's organizing like the big event twice a year. So there is a number of different events that you can also attend remotely. There is like about metaverse or avatars or many others.
Yeah, we still do many virtual events. But the big ones, the global summits, you know, we try to do the Americas and the Europe. So we did the Europe, and then the Americas is in Miami. And when Gabriela was talking about you can apply for a grant, I was thinking, can you guys apply for a grant to go to Miami?
That's a good question. We'll talk to Gabriela absolutely about that. But that's the Miami is actually happening in December, right?
December 5th through 7th, Miami Beach to be exact. Beautiful venue, right on the beach. So we pick these exclusive, expensive venues because that's where the executives want to go. So Madeira really showed. I mean, you had CEOs and executives from like top companies, and people. I think they're still raving about it. How it was a small event, but all the decision makers were there.
But that's, I think, in terms of Madeira, that was quite interesting choice because that was the place that executives want to go, actually. That's more like a holiday, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it was like 500 people, not big. Miami will be much bigger. We expect, 1,000 to 3,000 in person,
Mhm.
and then of course it will be virtual as well. You
2,000 as well.
you can attend, participate virtually.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, in terms of the events, it's quite interesting because you are actually doing 2 editions, like yearly. Last year I remember it was fully remote, so it was also quite interesting event, and there was a lot of people. Like those events are getting at some point crazy. I remember
The virtual
metaverse
events,
one.
yeah?
Yeah. The metaverse one actually killed hopping at some point. I remember last year. So
Yes,
quite
so
interesting.
actually when COVID happened, so we switched from the physical event to the virtual event, and we picked Happen. I think they had 6 guys in a basement back then.
So working with
and now it's like the fastest, biggest startup. They're based in London.
Okay. That's a brilliant project. Nice.
LinkedIn invested in them. Good platform now, but at the beginning it was kind of shaky. But I remember when we went virtual, our first global summit was almost 11,000 people.
Okay.
But since that peak, people are getting tired of the virtual events. But that was a huge event, yeah.
That was a huge one. Yeah, but coming back to the European and US, or maybe to Madeira first, like, can you, because you've been there physically, like, can you share your thoughts and like the main highlights of the event?
I think the highlight was Lenovo. They've been big with their smart glasses and augmented reality, but they finally announced, I say finally because they've been doing VR with like other, with Google, with Pico, but they now announced their own headset, the VRX. So, big company, Lenovo, huge, right? They're like number 2 in PC sales, or maybe number 1 now. And now they are, selling the VR headset with their PCs and laptops. So that's a huge validation for the market.
Yeah, it's quite actually interesting because they are very business oriented and enterprise oriented.
Yeah.
Right? So from that perspective, it shows that it's still happening and the big players are entering the market with all the ecosystem that they've been before, right? So it's
huge ecosystem, yeah. So really good support for the market. Also, Magic Leap was in Madeira at our summit, and they, we knew the new headset is coming, but they announced the shipping at our conference to 19 countries.
Nice.
So now Magic Leap 2 is available. The other highlights were, just amazing speakers from Deutsche Telekom with the holograms. Yeah, they're doing some good stuff.
That's great. Yeah. Do you looking at the Madeira event, or maybe even back in terms of comparing the European market? Because I think that may be something interesting also for us, because you have a quite good overview right now of the European market and what's happening here, and the US market. Do you see any significant differences, or in terms of XR, it's more like one big family, and it's
So 2 things. Madeira was interesting because it was a European conference, but a lot of Americans came. Magic Leap came, Unity came, Meta came. Google was there. I think the person was from Europe. The Google person was from Europe. Meta person, I think, was from California. So a lot of Americans came to the European Summit to connect with Europeans. So that was a highlight, actually. But in terms of what I learned about the European ecosystem, I'm still learning, right? Meta is still trying here.
I think they're hiring us as crazy, trying to get people involved into the project.
I know Pico is very popular in Europe, right? And they announced.
I think in the enterprise sector, that was at least even talking to the to VRARA association members, that was quite often a choice because they Meta always had a problem with the Facebook accounts.
Yeah.
And for enterprise it was no-go, always. They changed that finally at some point, I think this year or last year.
With the Meta accounts.
Yeah, with the Meta accounts. But from that perspective, Pico or HTC, Lenovo, they are actually much more
enterprise focused,
focused, and they understand the challenges there. Because in big corporations, sometimes Facebook is completely banned, so it's not even an option to use it internally in the Wi-Fi.
Actually, in Madeira, we were trying to promote the conference on Facebook, and we were blocked. The hotel or something, we couldn't even access the Facebook over the Wi-Fi. So that told me, wow, Facebook has a lot of challenges here in Europe.
They are trying to drive from the consumer sector. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, but that's actually quite good news that it's there are these kind of options to connect. The Madeira, I think it's a good event, and definitely I saw a lot of American people very active, in general. So it's happening a lot because in general there was always the drive of European companies going to US and trying trying to get there. But it was always a challenge. I remember even from the investment perspective, there was a lot of VCs here trying to get some touch base in California or somewhere and just try to help people. But I think even organizations like ours, it helps a lot because it's super easy to connect with those people. Right? Going to event or going to virtual event.
Exactly.
It's super easy.
HTC was also at the conference in Madeira, and they're still very strong.
They actually added the face tracking, I think, to the
yes, they're actually doing amazing stuff with haptics.
Okay.
And the VP from HTC was very knowledgeable about the brain haptics coming in. So they're doing some neat stuff.
Cool. Yeah, they've been always very business focused. I remember talking to them many times. It was quite interesting to see they're still very focused on the enterprise. But for them it works actually.
Yeah.
They are, of course, in terms of the pricing they're much higher, but on the other hand they provide all the software.
They're still one of the best. Yeah. I mean, you have Varjo. How do you say that in Europe?
Yeah, it's
Varjo in Poland. Varjo. So there's many players. There's the Lynx guys in France.
Yeah.
So there's many new players that
was the Lynx headset already released? Because I think it was still
it's still a prototype. I'm still waiting for them to go big, but it just shows there's still a lot of players that can go big, right?
That's true. That's absolutely true. And I think from the hardware perspective, it's quite interesting to see European market also very active. And we have even in Poland we have a technology company that is working on haptics. But many other players are actually trying to work on hardware. Well, it's not that easy. From the startup perspective, let's say, it's quite a challenging project. Actually, also considering the current times and shortage of everything. From the
supply chain,
supply chain is broken completely. So it's quite a big challenge. But it's quite interesting to see. Do you see that difference in terms of the hardware and software, some kind of division between Europe and US? Or
so actually, there was a nice panel in Madeira at our summit with the hardware guys. So Google, HTC, Qualcomm, and they actually addressed that in the US. The Biden administration did a new investment to chip guys for US because there's something happening in China or fears of China taking over Taiwan, where 80% of the chip manufacturing is happening. So it's very interesting what's happening around the world. But US is investing in its own chip makers.
Okay,
so that's Qualcomm is a chip maker, Apple is a chip maker.
Yeah, that's true.
So they will be helping because we need more chips, not only for the headsets but also for cars, right? So it's everything.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the development, do you feel that it's from the innovation perspective, do you think this the current situation is stopping the innovation, or is it more stopping the adoption, maybe?
So I think that's where we need more investment. So the U.S. administration is investing in chips, and I know European Union is planning on doing something similar, right? To invest in the chip makers.
They are even right now organizing the programs for XR only, just to push the innovation here. So there is the dedicated industrial alliance right now on on the European Union level.
Yeah.
And they are right now trying to talk to decision makers. They're making some reports, so that's quite interesting. Also, like see that kind of activity on the
So there's still a lot of room for innovation, and maybe that's why Apple is not yet launching a headset because the technology is not ready. But we can have a long discussion with Apple because some people think they're delaying the VR AR glasses market, right? But then some people say that the technology is not ready to, which might be true, right? I mean, can you wear it the whole day? Is it safe for your eyes? Is it? There's still a lot of challenges.
Projects also, like from the Apple perspective, mentioned like more VR oriented one and AR oriented one. So it's.
Well, Tim Cook says we don't envision people wearing VR.
Yeah.
But then
Some
it's like
kind of
surprise.
Maybe Apple is quite interesting player, so maybe afterwards we can have a chat about this. But in terms of also like the current market, because there was like last year huge metaverse oriented hype started, and you are quite long like involved into those projects. You mentioned like 2012, so there's like VR was not even there. Like, do you see any difference? Because like it was hype at the beginning, but we still like see things happening. We see big players entering the market. So do you see any difference like this time? Because there was few hypes like in the past, right?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook rebranding to Meta, helped everybody a lot. But before Metaverse, it was VR and AR. Before that, it was Industry 4.0. I mean, it's still the same technology, but this new word Metaverse is just helping. The buzz is definitely helping everybody. I mean, executives know Metaverse, and everybody's asking, what should be my Metaverse strategy? What do we need? Who do we need to hire? And of course, being within the VRAR Association community, you can easily connect with consultants, with students, with developers, and build your team or build your product or connect with who you need.
So do you think like this time it's actually it's getting traction because is it still like a bit longer hype, or like do you think that this time it may actually start to get to the mass market?
So definitely it's happening in the enterprise. I mean, it started a long time ago, like in the US, for example, with Walmart. They invested in VR headsets. They're training their staff with VR. It's happening in the an energy sector or oil sector because you can train people easier with VR. That's proven. There's no hype there anymore. Like people want that in the enterprise. On the consumer side, when you compare like VR sales to like PlayStation or Nintendo, it's still low. But I think again, Mark from Meta, is doing a great job with keeping the price very low. But he launched Cambria today, right?
He's launching that as we speak, I think.
Did they announce
like
the price point?
They start connecting in a minute. So
okay, we need to finish.
Yeah.
We need to watch
we'll
Mark.
watch that, don't worry. Like we start the stream after the conversation is finished, so absolutely.
But if you think how the VR headset Oculus is $300 US.
Yeah.
That's
pretty.
pretty.
It's like also quite accessible. It's like cheaper than most of the
that's
phones.
pretty cheap, right, for such a powerful device. And he's investing in it, right? He's really helping everybody, and the sales are really growing.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because it's actually like for me it's interesting to observe that like this concept is actually coming from different like angles, because there was VR and AR like as the technologies that are coming here. There is a blockchain that is also driving that from the other part, like more like
everything's getting
part.
connected, all these technologies.
So it's more like everything is actually starting to aim into the same direction at this point. Even including gaming, is also quite interesting market like from that perspective. And like I think big companies like you mentioned Walmart, they just recently announced the world they created in Roblox, I think, and it's visible that also like additional point to the entire like metaverse discussion is that we are getting the younger generation that was like till now playing games, they're also getting involved, and that's interesting consumer group for
Yeah.
all those companies.
So I just saw my nephew who's 12 years old in Katowice,
Yeah.
and he's playing Roblox the entire day. When the parents allow him to use the phone, he's in Roblox.
Okay.
And it's interesting they call Roblox metaverse.
Yeah.
I think this is where the kind of gray area is. What is metaverse? Is it just VR?
Yeah, exactly. So is it like virtual worlds? So it's one metaverse, many metaverses?
It's
like
virtual.
ongoing
It's
discussion?
virtual, yeah.
But it's very interesting to see this kind of like merge of all those ecosystem, all those technologies, plus like finally having the consumer group that is growing in that space. My daughter is playing Minecraft and Roblox as well, and they are all the economy is actually working there. They are dressing up.
Yeah, it's a
clothes.
huge
It's actually
marketplace.
crazy.
Yeah.
There are like those I think new generation games like the Central or Sandbox. They are not getting that much traction, but there are those bigger players like Minecraft, Roblox, and so on. They are having quite consistent economics right now.
It's huge. It's like I think it's $1 billion economy inside the metaverses with digital fashion, digital clothes. I think you guys know like the Gucci bag, something sold. The digital version of the bag sold for more than the actual physical bag.
It's quite interesting to see that. So so absolutely. But you mentioned also that the industry is leading. I remember, I think it was like this year that James Watson was also explaining, like he's also in training a lot, and he said that it's actually there are some sectors that are already proven with numbers. There are some reports clearly stating that the technology is there.
Yeah.
So AR and VR actually they've been both removed from the hype cycle already.
Yeah, definitely. Enterprise training, healthcare. Actually, so within VRARA Association, we have these committees.
Yeah.
And the first one that was formed was healthcare.
Okay.
So that's interesting, right? Such a slow-moving industry, right? Yeah. And that was the first kind of subgroup of the association where doctors and technology people formed this subgroup, and they're using it for training nurses, training with surgery, and I heard this great compelling ROI. You can train doctors to do surgery without bodies anymore. So that's a big ROI, right? Or without killing someone.
You can make mistakes.
You can make mistakes. So it's a huge ROI.
I think
return on investment.
At least I think from the training perspective, it's a bit easier because the regulations are not that strong there. If you want to use it like during the operation, in the operation room and like do the things, then it's getting challenging. But still practicing. I remember I was also involved in some like medical projects in the past, and we have a MedUp like also like in Polish chapter. So it's very interesting to see that.
Mediview is a Polish company, right? They're a member. Mediview, I think.
There's a MedUp.
Oh, MedUp. Okay.
And they are actually doing the surgery thing. So they are using the HoloLens headset.
From Krakow.
They're from Krakow, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite interesting to see adoption like this kind of markets. You mentioned healthcare training, absolutely.
Education is huge as well. And education is still happening on like tablets and phones with augmented reality. So that's happening in terms of VR headsets. Schools buying VR headsets. It's happening, but it's still small.
Yeah, like if you touch the education, like I think the education market is very like those technologies are perfect for this kind of market. The market itself is a bit challenging, because it's usually the public money.
Right.
There's some private players, of course. But definitely in terms of building like the next generation of education, I think it's like from many different angles. It's actually quite interesting to see progress there, and there is a lot of like innovators there as well. People are just trying to use like Mozilla Hubs or like this kind of solutions just to play with it and present.
Right, or virtual schools inside VR. Yeah, so. I was thinking education should be really, using VR by now, but maybe there's those health, health challenges with kids wearing the VR headset,
that's
younger
one thing.
eyes, you know, they're still not developed, so you cannot wear a computer too
Yeah,
long.
on your face. Yeah, that's true. But I think it's also, at least from what I see, and we also have some companies involved that are working with education market. And my wife is also like teacher, so it's I think it's more like a challenge also on the user interface level, I would say, because usually like you need to introduce this kind of solution into those kids. You need to explain, you need to control somehow what's happening there. Are they lost or not? So I think in terms of the management, like of the like having the class in VR,
It's not easy.
still it's a bit of a challenge. There may be some problems that one person is having some issues with the app or not seeing like the same thing as the other ones. So yeah, I think in Asia actually it's quite popular. There are some the entire classes I saw that they're using the VR headsets.
So actually, yeah, there was a speaker in Madeira from Nokia, Leslie. I don't know if you know her. She's pretty,
No, I don't think so.
pretty not well known, and she showed a slide of patents happening in the U.S. and Europe for VR AR, and then she showed China,
Okay.
and there's like 3 times more patents in China already happening for VR AR, and she said China is already 5 years ahead of US and Europe, so we should be learning from them.
Yeah, that's true. Like
Yeah.
The knowledge transfer, like they are going through those things.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of trends actually. Yeah, from I think culturally they are much keen to use avatars as well. Like there's completely different culture. Yeah, but it's the phones, headsets, and everything. It's happening there quite a lot. So like in terms of the market and the state of the market, like do you think that like there are like any particular challenges that are also like stopping us from the mass adoption? So do you think it's more like a hardware thing, or do we need to get there with the software, or is more like education on the market that needs to happen?
Yeah, so I think it's many factors working together. So there was actually a panel in Madeira addressing this issue. You know, how can we enable faster adoption with the hardware makers, so HTC, Google, and I actually asked the question, price point, right? The price needs to be the right price for consumers to buy it, right? So maybe the Facebook, the Meta Oculus is $300. Maybe that's affordable enough for the consumer. That's a good price point, I think. But then you need the content, you need, there's many factors that need to come together, right? And it's happening, and we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's, I think from that perspective, definitely we need to work on that. Was there any discussion about the risks? Like in terms of, because from my perspective, like it's happening, we see that the big players are pushing strongly to like get that market working. They are pushing hardware, they are pushing software. But what I see like outside of that bubble is that people are not that aware like what's going to happen. Like it's there, but they've been not wearing headsets, they're not using AR just yet. And if we do that flip, they may be quite surprised.
But hold on. You said people are not using AR, but they don't know they're using AR,
that's
right? But everybody is, right? Snapchat filters, Pokemon Go, that there's a little bit of AR there, but Snapchat filters, in all the social apps.
Navigation is actually happening from that perspective
but
as well.
just social apps, you use AR, I think, on a daily basis without knowing about it.
That's true.
Right, so it's happening on the phone, for sure. And I think what's amazing is the content is being produced for the mobile phones, right? The filters, everything, 3D objects, 3D data. Even for retail, it's happening. Everybody's converting, the shoes, the kitchen.
Fashion the same, actually.
Fashion too.
Making the 3D models first.
Yeah, everybody's creating the 3D objects models for their inventory.
Yeah.
And they're adding it on websites, right? So now when you view a website, you can actually rotate the object in 3D, and that content will be then used in glasses, right? So when the Apple glasses finally launched, or other players introduce glasses, that content can be then reused on the glasses. So I think the content's getting ready
So it's
for the
more like a
glasses.
content formation phase. At the
Exactly.
moment.
Yeah, and I
We
think
need to get
Apple
to
was
the-
very careful about that. They don't want to launch the
Yeah.
glasses without the content being ready, right? Because then what you're gonna see, what are you gonna use on the glasses? And I think Apple has a very strong ecosystem of developers, right?
Yeah.
And
That's true.
the 3D, the AR SDKs on the iPad and iPhone are very strong. So I think the content is there. So
They're
now
actually
when
enabling the content because I think
exactly,
this
it's
year
so
they-
easy to
yeah.
scan your room
Yeah, the room API
and-
showed up this
and-
year. Yeah.
and create the 3D content. It's so easy now.
Yeah. So that's quite interesting. So because I have quite often this like comparison between the mobile devices which like showed up 10 years ago. It was quite smooth transition. Today we cannot imagine like not using them. But like from my perspective, it's also quite visible that it's like I think the approach is repeating a bit. So like the hardware is getting slowly there.
Mhm.
You mentioned the content that is super important. With mobile phones, it wasn't that important because that like here the content looks like a killer thing. Like we need to have it to enable.
Right,
the
content
market,
is
yeah.
king. Yeah, there's a saying.
With mobile phones, it was more like back then it was music or like when Steve Jobs was introducing the iPhone, it was like messaging, like a bit simpler,
Mhm.
simpler solutions like from the content perspective.
But you need
because-
content for
yeah,
that device,
yeah.
right?
For this one, yeah, we definitely need to switch because it was still like 2D interfaces, so it was quite easy transition, right? It might be it's still like transitioning is happening much faster right now. Like still adoption of the technology is getting
Mhm.
faster. Yeah, but I think it's a very important point that you just made that the content is quite crucial, like in terms of the 3D, and we've been doing 3D for quite a long time, right?
Yeah.
Hollywood was doing that. There was a lot of companies preparing those entire industrial solutions.
Yeah, I think there's more 3D content than we think. But to what you said, the progress that we made, some people say that the VR AR is still like BlackBerry, right? This is before the iPhone moment for the
Yeah.
glasses. And the smartphone is what 10 years now.
Yeah, it was like 2009.
And we're still the pre-iPhone moment for VR or AR smart glasses, right? So imagine that, right? So
Yeah, that's true. But like two points is that first of all, like you mentioned the industries that if you look at it, like they've been working with they already have the content in 3D. Right?
Mhm.
Medical, it was always like 3D. It was visualized on computers, but the 3D was there, so it's quite easy for them to like acquire this new platform. Same with industry, some BIM objects that are created for buildings. It's also
Right.
easy to transition. So maybe that's also the reason that they are leading because they are already used to the 3D content. They have it in place. They've been using that in a bit different way, but with that they actually visualize.
yeah, there's a lot of 3D content out there.
There's,
Yeah.
the entire like interior designer or like buildings, like we have people here also working in that space, and it's also like the 3D was there for quite a long time.
Mhm.
So it's much easier definitely to get those things. Yeah, but I think in terms of adoption, yeah, you are right that it's still like we see those small bits showing
Mhm.
here and there. Yeah, but the mass adoption requires a lot of interesting content. Games actually are also adding another like layer. Right?
Yeah, I mean, gaming was always ahead of.
Yeah.
It was like gamers and military were kind of leading the technology evolution in everything. But I'm wondering what you guys are. You guys developers, UX? Because I think UX will be very important or is important.
I think right now we have a mix of people here, so definitely like we can soon start chatting. Yeah, we are almost out of time. So yeah, I think it was very interesting discussion. That I believe we can also like continue at some point and do maybe some like another virtual event, or maybe we can meet up or do something from Miami as well. Yeah, but absolutely in terms of the state, I think it was very good highlight that we are getting there. All the pieces need to come together. But definitely there are some industries already showing up and bringing the value, right? Because that's the end goal. Probably technology needs to get, as you mentioned, transparent, so it's invisible for us. Like we just go there and okay, that's clear. If you were probably, I guess that there was the test of those AR contact lenses. I think last week happening in the Mojo
Yeah,
Vision?
we had Mojo Vision actually in Madeira, the summit,
Okay.
and they actually were on stage with Adidas.
Oh, nice.
So you can
That's
you
quite
can think of the
interesting.
use cases they're working on.
Nice.
So I don't know much. I cannot comment much about what's going to happen there, but it's
very
interesting. Yeah.
Because contact lenses, yeah, it's still like of course challenging in terms of adoption as well. Not everyone wants to wear them.
But hey, for many of us who wear the glasses, I keep waiting. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, actually, Google showed this prototype with the translation, right, in the glasses. I mean, that's a
Live
killer.
translation, yeah.
That's a killer use case for augmented reality, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
With voice, right?
Yeah.
The glasses hear the language and display subtitles and translate in your language.
The
The
audio
other
is actually quite interesting in general as a subject because it's like I remember at some point I had a discussion about the audio AR. That's like another, of course, different sense.
audio is very important. Yeah. And the other killer use case for me would be night vision.
Yeah.
You guys that wear
So you get
glasses, or maybe it's
superpowers.
my vision. Maybe my vision is not good at night, but night vision would be, I think, helpful.
Yeah, we are going to get superpowers like still.
Yeah. So
with those
we keep talking about
technologies.
contact lenses, but come on.
Yeah.
We have glasses. Many of us have glasses.
But
So.
that's interesting even from like looking from the Apple perspective. If you play with AirPods, like what they are doing,
Mhm.
like they're enhancing the the audio from the person that is in front of you. They're doing those crazy things. Like if
Yeah,
you-
which direction is it
yeah.
coming from? Yeah,
They are
spatial
sometimes,
audio
they
is
give you this transparent mode where you can hear better.
yeah.
Actually, it's quite interesting because you feel better with AirPods in some spaces. So they are doing the superpowers like
Yeah.
already with audio, but yeah, visual is
Maybe they don't need Apple glasses. It's just gonna be audio.
audio glasses. There was Bose actually at some point 2 years ago trying to do that. But I think they
It's
the
difficult,
project.
yeah.
It is. Cool.
All right.
I think we can wrap up here. So Kris, thank you very much for
Thank you,
being with
Maciej.
us today. Yeah, it was amazing to talk to you. Definitely, like we can stay sometime more. We'll play the music. We have some drinks as well. So yeah, we'll chill here. Thank you very much to all the people that were watching the stream. It was great to see you. Of course, the recording will be shared as well with you later on. So thank you very much and have a great rest of the event.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Maciej.